Somebody else joined. Okay, yep. So thank you, everybody. My name is Ria Staples. I'm the product manager for protective services and security within Pearson. I've looked after security for about 10 years, I think, now with Pearson, and I've probably emailed lots of you over the last 10 years. We haven't done one of these webinars for a little while, so we thought now is a good time to catch up with everybody. I've also got Andy Pollard, who's our Senior Delivery Manager within Pearson, who's going to be joining me with the presentation. Andy, I don't know if you want to say hi and introduce yourself.
Yeah, so good afternoon, everyone. As Ray said, I've been with Pearson probably for the last 5 years now. Predominantly, I look after endpoint assessments, but also more recently, I've been looking after the sort of like MBQ competence side, where security sits, and the specialist testing.
And I don't know if are you able to admit people just in case I missed them if they come in. Thank you. So hopefully you've seen on the invitation the agenda what we're hoping to cover today. So in a nutshell, we're looking at the SIA requirements, so the GET training document that came out with the new 2021 qualifications, and that has been updated recently in July. So I'll just make sure everybody is aware of that, along with the first aid requirements that are with the new qualifications now. Some of the Pearson requirements that we've got with the security qualifications, so looking at the LSV and the SV requirements, the Security Centre handbook that hopefully you all know and love and refer to often, and lots of the other resources that are available. And then we've got a few different bits about the tests, the multiple choice tests that are attached to the security qualifications, from administering it to the test inspection process. So things that have come up as common issues with the test inspections team, and what the process is and where all the links are on the website so you can find all that information. I'll do a quick update on the 3 new top-up qualifications that we've got in the sector, so door supervisors, security officers and close protection. And if anybody doing close protection, the SIA has just agreed some new information with regards to the fast track, so the 24-hour refreshers we would have known on the 2015 spec. I'll just do a little bit of an update on that. And then lastly, you'll also have seen in the email from me a questionnaire. So it's really just to get some feedback from you all. Security's been running for a little while now, and it's grown as a sector from when it was first introduced as license linked requirement, to introducing physical intervention, to now first aid, and lots of new requirements. So we think it's about time that we have a look at how we deal with that, whether we can make any improvements, any efficiencies in our systems to deal with the changes to the sector, really. So if you some of you have already filled in the questionnaire, so that is great, thank you. If you haven't, if you could either fill that in, or I think your LSV will talk through that with you. But we really would appreciate getting your feedback, so we'll have a little section for that at the end. So the first bit that I wanted to talk about, and I will say I've got lots of links in this presentation, so you can go through to all of the documents, because I know they're not always the easiest to find on the website where they are. So I've got lots of links in the documents to take you straight through to the right bits. We'll send the slides out, and we'll put a copy of the slides on the website as well. So don't worry about trying to keep track of where I'm telling you where everything is. So GET training, that's what we used to know as the Introduction to Learning Leading to License Linked Qualifications document with the 2015 specs. So the SIA have renamed that document the GET training document. That was last updated this summer in July. And so the most recent version of that, I think we did send it out to you, but it is also on every qualification page under the useful documents page. So if you need to get a copy of that, you can find that on the website, and any updated version will always get put on the website, and I'll circulate it, and your SV will probably circulate it to you as well. So hopefully you'll get it by one of those methods. The most recent thing I think that's come into force with Get Training, obviously you'll have noticed when the new level 2s were launched last year, there was a requirement in there for assessors and IQAs to be qualified, and with the new level 2s they had until the end of September to get qualified. Obviously now we're in October, and just to make sure you're all aware that that is in force now. And if you look and Get Training, and it's also in the Security Centre handbook, it lists out all of the relevant qualifications units that can be achieved by those assessors or IQAs to be deemed qualified for the purposes of security. The other thing that's new that the SIA put in there is for the trainers and assessors delivering the qualifications to have the NACSO, the 2 or equivalent training courses that you do every year. So there's the ACT awareness and the ACT security training, the 2 different courses that should be completed annually. The video recording requirements, obviously we've always had an element of video recording in the Pearson qualifications, but that's been sort of extrapolated and confirmed across all AOs within the 2021 new specifications. There's a little update in the July version of Get Training that the SIO put in there about good practice for the videos to include learners making a fit to partake statement before and after the physical intervention sessions, just so that we can gather more information, and it's a useful way of assessing English language skills and lots of useful things with the video. So they've put that in as a new thing in the summer update. And just a reminder that the assessments must be visually recorded. And hopefully you've seen we did send an update to the length of time that you're required to keep the video recordings. I think initially when the qualifications launched in 2021, it was a 3-year retention for the videos, but we've had lots of feedback that they're quite big and quite cumbersome to store. So they've reduced that requirement now down to 1 year for audit purposes for the video evidence. I've put a bit in here about the English language assessment because this is something that the SIA ask us about a lot. It's something that comes up in lots of the meetings with the SIA. So just as a reminder, with the new Get Training, it's the language skills equivalent to a level 1 qualification, and that year centres need to make sure that they are at that level to do initial assessment of learners, and if you think that they're not at that level, to make sure that they go and do the training and get the qualification skills to make sure they are at that level before they do the security qualifications. It's something that your SV will be asking you about, so I'm sure everybody is familiar, but just as a reminder, because we met with the SIA at the end of last month, and it was something again that it's very high up on their agenda. I've just put at the bottom, if you weren't aware, there's our sample functional skills tests. There's a link to those there that you can use as a way of doing your initial assessment if that's useful. And that's just to confirm the test must be conducted in English. I think if you're looking at Get Training, it says English or Welsh, but Pearson only offer them in English. And it's not appropriate for learners who have English as a second language to have access to a scribe or a reader or a dictionary. The retention of records for the English language, that is for 3 years after certification, and it is something that we do get asked about. If the SIA get complaints or issues logged about a licence holder, they do come back to the awarding organisation who awarded their certificate, and it is something that they do check back through. It's the initial English language skills assessments and all the information around there, and that's when we can review the video recordings and things like that if we've still got them. So just a reminder about that. I'll do a little bit about first aid, and then I'll maybe hand you over to Andy so that you don't get bored of my voice for too long. But again, first aid was introduced as a requirement for doors and security officers in 2021. So just a reminder that they must have either first aid or emergency first aid for doors and security officers. Something that the SIA have asked us to reiterate is that although blended learning is permitted for the delivery of the first aid qualifications, solely online training for the first aid is not permitted as far as the security qualifications go. And I've just copied out a bit of information that they've asked us to include here about what they see as the acceptable face-to-face time for the emergency first aid courses. And I've put a link on there as well to the SIA requirements around first aid if you wanted to have a look at a bit more detail. For those delivering close protection, that's always had the first aid requirement in there, and that hasn't changed. So the 2015 requirements have carried over to the new 22 requirements, and that's the level 3 accredited first aid at work, or FPOS, you know, the accredited equivalent at level 3 qualifications for the close protection qualification, and that will also apply to the top up as well. For any of you that do deliver or are thinking of delivering the accredited first aid at work with the emergency first aid at work qualifications, you may have seen, I think at one point I think we were planning on withdrawing from those qualifications, but we are continuing with them now. They have been updated slightly with the you know, the broader accredited first aid at work qualifications. So the current ones will go until the end of this month. And then the updated versions will replace those from the 1st of November. They're not massive changes. I've just done a bit of a snapshot on the right hand side of the slide for you, so you can see what the changes are, and you can have a quick look at those, hopefully save you going through, looking through the entire spec trying to see where the odd word has changed. If you are approved and you meet the auto approval requirements, which usually means you're active and you've made registrations against those recently, centres will be auto approved for the replacement versions of both 4 and the E4 qualifications. And I've just put a link on the bottom of this slide to the first aid qualifications and the FPOS qualification. Because hopefully they're not in the same place on our website, so you've just got a link for both first aid and the FPOS. And I'll hand you over to Andy. If Andy, you want to do a quick update on what we've got with the LSV and the SV visits this year.
I will do, thanks Ria. So with regards to lease standards verification activities, the allocations are being released imminently. So the allocations, once your LSV and your standards verifiers accepted, you'll be able to access their details through Edexcel Online, which is the normal way. And I believe you also get an email to indicate that your lease standards verifier for this academic year will be, and the same for the standards verifier. With regards to the lease standards verification activity this year, again, your LSV is there to support, advise, but also to look forward into the academic year. What are you planning? They will be discussing with you the different training which you have planned for the year. They will also be looking at different risk areas. So just as in previous years, LSVs and SVs will be undertaking the same activity. We are looking to introduce face-to-face meetings because we understand the value of having a face-to-face meeting with your lease standards verifier or standards verifier, because you can talk openly, you can look at additional evidence rather than presenting it on screen. As of Monday of next week, there will be an email going to the quality nominee of each centre indicating that the annual quality declaration will be available to access. So again, we've listened to your feedback with regards to streamlining how many different declarations are required. So you should have already received a customer service update, but if not, you will be getting notified from Monday of next week in terms of how to submit your annual quality declaration. And that does incorporate the centre self-assessment, so it's reducing the admin burden that you have. Just as a reminder, if any information does need to be shared with your standards verifier, we do recommend using secure file transfer. And what we've done, we've popped the link into this slide deck. and it will take you to a registration page. Now, one of the benefits of using Secure File Transfer is it's easily auditable. You can see who's accessed the email package when it was downloaded. You can also set time restrictions. So if you're sharing information with your standards verifier, you can set a time restriction of 3-4 weeks, and then after that, the email notification will automatically go. And then the final web link is opting out of the SIA listings. Sorry, I've just noticed I've missed one in terms of sharing your planning and scheduling activity. I think we've jumped a couple of slides, Ria.
Yeah, I didn't press it, but I think something has knocked it. So I'll just go out of it and go back. Sorry about that.
So it should be on slide 9. That's
Yeah.
it. So on the sharing your planning or scheduling activity, this is a Microsoft form. And again, this is just an indication of how far in advance do you typically schedule your courses, how far in advance do learners typically book onto your course, when do you typically register learners on Edexcel Online, and then a few questions around the paper-based tests. So as Ria was saying earlier on in the slide deck, we do get these questions from SIA. And having all that information up front, it just allows us to be more efficient in dealing with the SIA requests. So once you get this slide deck, again, if you could complete that feedback along with Ria's centre feedback request with regards to what is going on in your centre and system improvements, it really will help us in terms of identifying what improvements are needed for different systems and also understanding how US centres operate. So if we move on to the next slide, please, Ria, I'm going to talk a little bit around resources.
Yeah, I was just going to say the last bit on that one, the opt-out of the SIA listing. Just to remind everyone that we used to have it was basically an opt-in system where on the SIA website there's a search for a training provider facility, and you had to give us permission to send that information. I think we've having talked to people, I think it'd be easier if we have an opt-out system essentially. So basically every month we send the SIA a list of who's approved for what courses, and we will automatically send them your details if we have approved you for the license linked qualifications. If you don't want us to send your details to the SIA to go onto their website under the search for training provider, let us know and we won't send them and you won't appear on their website. But we recommend that you do. You might as well advertise that you're doing those courses. Yeah, and then the resources. Sorry, Andy, thanks.
So we've got a range of resources that are available. As you'll be aware, we do have the Security Centre handbook. That will be uploaded very shortly to the webpage, and the Centre handbook will just detail all the quality assurance requirements that you as a training provider need to adhere to, and also when standards verification activities happen, they will be directing you back to the specifics. So within the Centre handbook, it will have information around testing. It will also have information about roles, responsibilities, and we've also included in the key documents tab of the secure test page another reference point. As we mentioned earlier on, within the web page there's various different sort of locations where we can have the Centre handbook. So to make sure that it's easily accessible, we have put it in different places, but it will be the same 2022-23 document. We do have a range of sample assessment materials, so what we shorten down as SAMs. These will be available in the course materials tab, and they can be used to prepare your learners when they're doing the external test. We've got learner resources for the door supervisor qualification. Again, they're within the course materials tab. And there are examples of learner workbooks, learner revision notes, and tutor PowerPoints. So again, they're there as a resource to aid you or to complement your delivery. And then finally, we've got the BTEC Security test page. So that includes all the sort of templates, exemplars, observation record forms, mandatory assignment briefs, guidance documents. So that there is a resource and as a tool to assist you. Just go on to the next one. So with regards to external tests, within the centre handbook, we do have guidance on how to conduct a test. And as you'll all be aware, we do have to work in line with the JCQ guidelines, the instructions for conducting examinations. Some of the key documents on the website are guidance to centres, BTEC security test room checklists, security test control sheets, test paper checklists, and test logs. So when the test inspectors do come out, these are the types of evidence that they will be looking for as part of their reporting. And I know we're going to touch on paper-based tests a little bit later on, but these are the types of areas that the test inspector will be asking for. Are you compliant? And if you're not compliant, they will be setting actions to ensure that you do remain compliant. With test inspections, these are coming back face to face. Some may be unannounced. And all this is part of our quality assurance mechanism to ensure that, one, we're compliant with JCQ, but two, we're also being compliant with all external regulations. Just as a reminder, there are some posters that need to be clearly displayed in the exam room. So it's warning to candidates and unauthorised items. Just as a reminder, and I'm sure everybody knows, but this shouldn't be on permanent display. This should only be visible for the purposes of testing. There is a guidance to candidates document, and again, you can use that to brief your learners before the start of the test. So again, just setting expectations, reminding learners what will happen during their test session. So we have done quite a few test inspections quite recently, and this is one of the reasons we wanted to touch on sort of testing in terms of what are the key themes, the key areas that are being fed back to us. And one of these areas is around secure storage. So just as a reminder, all test papers are classed as secure material. So they've got to be handled and stored in line with JCQ rules. When downloading the test, the moment you print them, they then become live secure. So you're not allowed to copy onto sort of USB sticks or sent by your email. So linking back to my previous point around secure file transfer, any learner evidence is still deemed as secure material. So it's putting everything into that same bracket. As a test manager, you do hold the overall responsibility and accountability for test papers. And what we've got here are just a couple of examples around safe, secure storage. So the door leading to the storage unit should be of solid construction and have a security lock. Rooms should have walls, ceiling and floor of strong, solid construction. If windows are easily accessible, they must be fitted with bars or the room alarmed, and between 2 and 6 different key holders. Similarly, for filing cabinets and cupboards, these need to be secure and not easily removable. And what we've got here is cabinets should be metal and have a secure bar fixed. Same again with regards to keys or electronic codes. These should only be accessible to between 2 and 6 exam staff. Obviously, the fewer people who have access to keys or electronic codes, the better, because we're just mitigating against a wide range of people having access. Just as a reminder with regards to collection, once learners have sat their test, within 48 hours, the test papers should be then sent back into Pearson. Now, we will be introducing a new process of reminding centres where we haven't received papers. So just to give you an awareness, there will be emails being sent out with regards to we haven't received your paper yet. We do recommend using a tracking service. So that could be the post office tracking or it could be courier. So do keep hold of the tracking information because we will then be able to identify whereabouts the test papers are. Again, just as a reminder, we do have the JCQ guidance document linked into this. So the test inspectors, when they do come out and sort of visit your premises, visit your test environment, that is what they're looking for. So if I come back to you, Ria.
Yeah, sure. And again, just a reminder on the procedure with the paper-based tests. So they're padlocked on the secure site, and so you have to obviously be approved and active to have access to the papers for each of the qualifications. You must download new test papers and answer sheets for each test sitting and delete them once printed. So don't now download version 1 and use version 1 forevermore, essentially is what we're saying there. Make sure each test sitting you are doing new and different versions and keeping them, and make sure that you use the correct answer sheets for the test that you're using. And again, all this is in the centre handbook as well, as on these slides, so you can look at all the details that I'm saying, just sort of pulling out the highlights really. But for the paper-based tests, they must be downloaded no more than 10 days prior to each sitting. If you have learners doing a resit, make sure that the learners sit a different test paper version for the resit, that's the original one that they sat. And as Andy said, return them to us within 48 hours. So with in conjunction with the test inspections and the sort of the QA process, if there's repeated sort of non-compliance with any of the above, if it's always unit test version 1 that we're sitting, if it's taking longer than 48 hours to return papers to us, then that may be considered as evidence of malpractice, and then the result of that is it may result in a red or a cert and/or cert block. With the forms and the answer sheets, this is really just a bit of a plea from our colleagues that process them. Please, can you make sure that the answer sheets are completed in full? So we've got all the learner details, so there's no doubt about which learner that test sheet is answer sheet is applying to, and that they can read all of the information that's on there. And make sure that it matches what's on your test log form. And things that sort of may sound obvious, but it's common things that we get, that the learner names are spelt correctly on both the answer sheet and the test log, that the learners put their date of birth in correctly, because we have to marry it all up. And all of these things, if they're not correct or if it's not legible, it just means it's a delay where we have to either manually go through everything and try and match it up, or we have to come back and contact you to ask you to confirm the details, which it's just a delay with the learners getting the results, and obviously we want to avoid that if we can. To try and help with this and sort of mitigate the amount of handwriting that has to go on, the test log form and the answer sheets are now available in Word, so you can type those out with the learner details in, rather than having the learner complete some of the details. If you think that's would be helpful, it would certainly be helpful for us. Typed ones much easier to process. But just to let you know, I think we did send a message out in the Insight magazine, but the Word versions are available if you want to download them and use those. And just a reminder again that what's in the handbook, that the invigilator is responsible just for giving the answer sheets a quick check to make sure that the learner has got all their details on their, name, date of birth, etc., before they leave the test room. As Andy said, we have restarted the face-to-face test inspections now with the COVID guidance relaxing. And the test inspections team have asked us just to highlight some of the points in this slide that are coming up as common issues in their inspections. Just on the sort of the minor points that can help you when the test inspector comes in to make sure they're not having to log a lot of minor non-compliances. So things like before the start of the exam, make sure the candidates know what to do in case of emergency, including how to evacuate the room. Make sure the notices are displayed outside of the room, and on the earlier slide, as Andy said, we've got links to the notices that you can print off and make sure that they're there, and make sure that they're just there for the exam, that they're not up there permanently, because they tend to then get ignored. We need to have a completed seating plan, everybody doing the test. That I think this has come up before. I know I've sent stuff out about there being a clock clearly displayed in the room so that the candidates can see the clock and the time that they've got remaining for the test. And in each exam room, the JCQ ICE document that we've referred to a couple of times already, that needs to be available in the room. It doesn't need to be printed off. It can be, they can have access to it if it's a electronic copy that you've got on a laptop or something, but they do need to have the ICE document, and that is linked in the slides, so you can have access to that as well. The security of the exam material, that's been an issue that's been flagged a couple of times, and that's, as Andy has outlined in the earlier slides, the suitable lockable storage unit, the box within a box kind of thing, that needs to happen if you're doing the paper-based tests. And we need to have the log completed of who's accessed the papers, how many copies have been made, who's witnessed the printing of the papers and the answer sheets for the paper-based tests. And also make sure that the candidates have been made aware of the information for candidates prior to the exam, so the guidance for candidates document that we linked on the earlier slide as well. So just as we've told you all the things that have come up, we'll tell you where to find the information about the test inspection process. So we ask that you submit a test notification form at least 5 working days before the test date. And it is for each unit at the moment. At the moment, the process is you submit a form for each test that you are planning on running. I've put a link on here to the page on our website that's got all of the information about the test notification process, so you can have a look at the process that the test inspector goes through, what they're looking for, what they will be completing, and the sort of turnaround times for getting that information sent back out to you. During the last couple of years, the test inspections have been virtual with COVID, but as Andy said, we are now returning to the face-to-face inspections, so these could be unannounced face-to-face inspections. With the notification, there's lots of information on there that we ask you for to make sure that we can process it. It's the number of candidates that you expect to take the test. So if you've got a test book and you're expecting 10 people on the course, put 10. If only 8 people to turn up to the course and you've only got 8 people in the test on the day, that's fine. We're not holding you to the expected number. We just want a rough idea of how many people you've got coming to take the test. Make sure you've got the date and start time on the test, and just another plea from the inspectors, can we make sure we've got the time right? We've had some that are saying they're starting at 3 AM and we're sort of assuming that that's wrong, but can we just make sure that we've got the start time correct for the tests? Your test manager details, and just an additional contact on the day if we need to get hold of somebody to get in or to access the building for the tests. If you do decide to cancel the test, or you have to cancel the test if you've notified us because you plan to have a course and for whatever reason the course is delayed or postponed, please could you just email us to let us know so we don't send a test inspector out to an empty test room. That would be great, thank you. The email address is on the slide there. And just a reminder really that if centres are repeatedly, if we find out that centres are claiming certs for learners but they haven't been notifying us of tests either at all or within the 5 working days, then that will trigger a sort of an investigation internally with us, and you might find yourself on a reg and or cert block if you're not completing the test notification forms going forward. The top-up qualifications. Obviously, we had the door supervisors and the security officers top-up qualifications going since summer last year, and from beginning of this month, so yeah, this week, we've had the close protection top-up qualification. So close protection, the full qualification is level 3, the top-up qualification is at level 2, and I'm going to go through that shortly so you can see the content of the close protection top-up. But also just to point you to the bit on the SIA website where they've said that learners can switch licenses at the point of renewal going forward now if they want to. So door supervisors, if they have got to the end of their door supervisor license and they're finding that they're not really undertaking door supervisor duties, it's more security officer duties, they can switch their license to a security officer one by doing the security officer top-up. That's obviously it's shorter than the doors, so cheaper, and so you may find that there's learners that previously had a doors license but can switch to do the security officer top-up. Doesn't work the other way around, just doors to security officer. Similarly with the close protection license renewal, obviously the close protection license allows you to work as a door supervisor at the moment, and there's been quite a bit of change to the close protection qualification this year. It's quite a bit bigger, and it does now have the top-up requirement. So if you're finding that close protection license holders finding that they're just not using it for the close protection purposes, they're using it to work as a door supervisor, they at the point of renewal can also switch to the door supervisor license by doing the DS top-up qualification rather than the CP top-up qualification. The CP top-up or renewal, the license renewal, that's come into force from the beginning of this month. So from now, anyone that wants to renew their CP license will have to do the CP top-up qualification. I've just put a bit of detail in about the CP top-up qualification because it is relatively new. If you're not that familiar with the close protection qualification, the level 3 one that went live in April, it's seen quite a bit of change in terms of the amount of content that's been added. Not that much change to the actual CP content, I will say, and the conflict management is the same. But because of license integration, the fact that the CPOs can use their license to work as a DS, the SIA have decided to add in a lot of DS content to the CP qualification. So you'll recognise most of these units from the doors qualification or the top-up. So there's the Principles of Terror Threat Awareness unit that's in the top-up, the level 2 top-ups. The SIA have extracted the key door supervisor knowledge and skills bits from that qualification and added that as a separate unit into the CP top-up. They've also now sort of officially added the physical intervention into the CP qualification, which hasn't been there previously. So there's 2 physical intervention aspects to close protection now. There's the one that's indoors, which is just a straight copy of that unit. And also a separate physical intervention for close protection unit that's in the top-up qualification as well. So if you don't deliver close protection but you do deliver doors, a lot of that content will be familiar to you, and if you get inquiries it might be something you want to look at. The key thing was obviously going to be the physical intervention for the close protection operatives unit, that there is a separate level 3 deliverers qualification that the trainers would need to have. They need to have the level 3 deliverers of PI for doors unit and an equivalent level 3 deliverers for PI for CPOs qualification as well. The mandatory contact time for the top-up qualification, it's currently at 5 days, but the SIA is working on this because it's a big jump for close protection, just to see if there's any crossover that we can reduce the mandatory top-up time for the contact time for the top-up qualification. And the last bit on close protection for anybody delivering that, in the last week or two, the SIA has confirmed the fast track requirements. So we were previously with the 2015 specification, we had the 24-hour refresher for learners that are coming to you that may have one of their qualifications listed on the screen, so the SES, the RAMP or the police close protection courses. It's not 24 hours on the new one, as you might expect with the increase in the course, but if learners do come to you with one of these qualifications within the last 3 years, essentially they can fast track that to at least 6 days. So you just have to do the mapping of what they've done as you've previously done for the 2015 version of the qualification. So, and once you've done that and you've identified any missing content, you can still do that as normal, and that will be included in the handbook. There's the form as usual with that. And same as previously, they might be exempt from some of the training, but all the assessments do still have to take place for that as well. And as previously, the fast track courses have to be submitted to EASV for approval before we deliver them. And now this is where we're sort of really asking for your feedback. Obviously, all of those things that I've just talked about, there's quite a lot of change that's happened specifically within the last 18 months with the new qualifications, but even before that, really, how the security courses have grown and changed, and our systems haven't really, in all honesty, for all of that time. So we're probably well due an update on how we can make the admin and the processing a bit more efficient and user friendly. So anybody got any thoughts? What's your bugbear? What bits really frustrate you when you have to work with us or work with EOL that you think we might be able to help with? I'll hand over to anybody. Please either put your hand up or type in the chat. Joel, go on.
Yeah, I think I put it in my questionnaire. When there was lockdown, some other awarding organizations, they started doing exams online, so they were proctored. So I think Highfields and Trident and a few others. So I think that Pearson, I would like for them to offer proctored exams. I know you do it with functional skills now. So I think if security could have proctored exams and also have e-certificates, because I think competitors are doing e-certificates, they're doing proctored exams, and I think it would increase the number of learners that we could target because of having that system in place.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Oh, sorry, Andy.
Do you want me to jump in there, Rio, just with regards to the proctoring? That's something that we're looking to explore as we speak. Okay, because we understand, particularly if you've got learners that need to take tests, there's so many different variables why a learner may need to take a test outside of your scheduled time, and having proctoring, it basically confirms everything, confirms controlled assessment conditions. You can see exactly what the learner's looking at with regards to the test. There's also test security, because everything's recorded, auditable. So that is something that we are looking at. In terms of timescales, I can't give you a definitive timescale, but it is something that is being tabled as we speak.
Ria, anything about the e-certificate process? Is that possible for us to get, instead of maybe have an option where we can get e-certificates instead of posted certificates? Because a lot of centres, I'm sure, who were here would prefer, because I think we've been with Pearson since 2006, And what happens is when there's like A levels or GCSEs, certificates take a longer time to come through. They've been printed, but they don't come through for, I know it's up to 28 days, Pearson say, for you to get these certificates. If we can get e-certificates, then it's been printed on the weekend, it's there already. We can send it to the learners, and then if we want a hard copy, maybe we could request that, but a lot of learners won't require a hard copy. So I think Pearson could even save on cost of printing certificates.
Yeah, I saw you would put that on the feedback, and it's something that we've got a working group looking at it, and I've sent it through. So I don't know the technicals, ins and outs, or how possible it would be, or timescales, but I've seen it, and I know you're right. The AOs do it, and again, you're right with the timescales, especially during COVID. It was impacted. So I have forwarded that on, and we can have a look at it. And similarly with the proctoring, I think I know I did go out to centres about this, and I'll be honest, I think it might have actually been before I went on maternity leave, which was a while ago now. And at that time, I don't think people were that interested, because I didn't get a very good response. But obviously things have changed now in the last couple of years, and the way we're working and the way centres are working is quite different. And I did talk to Chris, who's our product manager for functional skills, because we thought between us that security would be another sector that would be interested in that. So yeah, I've seen that, and as Andy said, we can look at that. I think at the time when I asked, it's not the cheapest, I'll be honest, and I think maybe at the time when I asked, that probably was a consideration, but I've seen it, and we've looked at it. So yeah, that is useful to know.
Sorry,
that it would be.
Sorry, one more question. I know other people put their hands up, but I don't want to take all the time. Pearson don't offer the physical intervention for close protection, but you offer the elements of the qualification. So in one qualification, let's say for close protection, you offer close protection, you offer the physical, you offer the physical intervention for the level 2 that they need to do. And for deliverers of physical intervention, you offer the level 3, and together they make the physical intervention close protection. So is that something you're going to look into? Because I would like for Pearson to offer it, so we can offer it through Pearson. We have to go to another awarding organisation to offer it through them. So is that something that Pearson will look into?
It is something that I would like to offer if I talk about me as the project manager for security. But I have to go into a big queue of things essentially within Pearson for the development. And even though, as you say, we offer the components, it's there's always competing priorities. But it is useful to have the feedback from centres to say that they want it, and the sort of numbers that they would come through, because that helps back up me asking for it. It's not just me if I can get it. So if people would use us for it and have got an idea of the numbers they would do, then yeah, please do send it in to me, because any sort of evidence backing my requests I can always use. I don't know, I mean, I have to go through a business case and approval panel, and it's I totally get what you're saying. I would like to offer it myself, but yeah, I can speak to you about that afterwards if you've got that, and then any of the other providers if you're on the call. That would be great. Thanks, John.
All right, thanks.
Craig, I think I saw you. Did you have a question?
Yeah, I did. Joel did me proud then. Thank you for BTEC delivers a PI. I've been begging for that, and I've got to go elsewhere. Not happy. So he's my champion right now. Yes, I wanted to talk about when it comes to booking the test. Way before on CP, and I only focused mostly on CP and whatever. There was one. Now all of a sudden there's quite a few of them. But it's actually, you mentioned about the administration. Is there not a way that you can redesign the form so it's one form filled in, put them all the days, in one form and submit that one rather than repeating the same data all the time for expediency? Because some of us will run an exam where we may have 2 consecutive, like on the PI, for example, or we have conflict management, PI, and then PI all in the one day because it all wraps up, you know, probably at the end of the 3 days and something like that. But it seemed it needs to be more expedient, the documentation, rather than one and another one and another one and another one.
Yeah, totally take your point on that as well, Craig. And I think, like you've said previously, when there's been fewer tests, that's maybe worked and been the better way to manage it for us to log it, so we know in each test is. But with the way that things have changed, and the number of tests and the days and how we're finding that centres that are running it doing maybe all the tests at the end, you know, in one time frame, that's the test notification could be
I think
more
the
efficient.
concern that I do have is in the event that you don't do it within the 5 days and whatever, or there's an oversight, there's going to be punitive damages and whatever. So most of us will be focusing on how we're going to run out the delivery or the organization, and we do our admin diligently. But when you've got it repeat to repeat, and sometimes you get square eyes. You think you've done it, you haven't done it, and next minute we're getting a rap on the knuckles. Where one form with all 5 of them that are going to be done on different days, they're not going to miss that one, but they might miss one. And I think it's the not the threat, but the possibility of getting your hand wrapped because you missed one single piece of paper 5 days ahead of time. And that's the other thing I want to talk about. Sometimes it's not possible to do it in 5 days. Well, I've always struggled with that. Sometimes it can be 3 days, but I get a lot of guys that come out from Iraq or Afghanistan no longer, and they've got to sit in the next 4 days and whatever. So I just want to be comfortable. I've always been comfortable with Pearson. Nobody's ever really bothered me with that. But I just want to make sure that I keep my low risk rating and I do my paperwork. But I'm getting old. You can see the silver in my hair now. Too much paperwork. I blame Andy for that. I don't blame you.
No, that is good to know, and that is actually one of the things that we are looking at the moment. So if anybody else feels the same, please do put that on the questionnaire, because it's good to know that what we think is also what you think, and it's not just me thinking I'm sure this will help, and actually it doesn't. So yeah, that is really good to know, Craig, and I've got to know. And if anybody else has the same thoughts or other ideas on what would work best, please do put that on the form, the questionnaire that I sent you out, or just email me. I think you should all have my email address by now.
I'll email you when you reply to the last one I sent through to you. I just don't want to inundate you, but I'll wait for that one and then I'll follow up. But thank you very much. Thank you, Ria.
Excellent. Is it Graham? Graham, you've got your hand up as well.
Yeah, just a quick one, really. From running up the systems, you were saying about the system of registering learners, but obviously we register the learners, we log things. Sometimes we don't get those learners' names till the day we start. So obviously we do then try and upload them, which is fine. But it's sort of really what happens afterwards for me. Once it's actually been uploaded and we've put all the information out, we sent it out, I find it a little bit sort of strange that unless I've actually gone through and claimed the learner's results, then I know, and I see a certificate appearing, then I know that person's passed, rather than having to go to a separate system to find the results. Is there not some way that we can actually from one place find out, you know, these are the ones I've registered, these are the ones that have actually passed or failed or marked, rather than have to go and search through and go through another part of the system?
So is that when you're going through the BTEC option on Edexcel Online, and then you're going into the sort of
once you've registered, and then you have to go in and do the, you know, you get the register, and then obviously, I mean, you're updating, you're marking each one it's done. But unless you actually look before, for example, if somebody hasn't completed their, let's say they've failed something, the only way you can, if you've already claimed them, that's fine, because you'll get told they've got a certificate. If they haven't got a certificate, you then have to look somewhere else to find where they failed. Isn't this one system to, you know, where we look at, there's the ones on the course, oh look, these are where they broke down. I'm only thinking of other AOs that I work with where these are the people's names on the course and it tells me what they failed on, or what unit they failed, and the percentage they've got straight from the same mock portal. I'm not looking for one bit to go to another bit
Yeah,
to
so
get down to.
you mean from the registration screen, search screen, if we could sort of like auto populate it in terms of yes, passed that external unit, failed that unit.
Yeah, because at the moment, like I say, you have to look at two parts of the system to find out, if Joe Bloggs is failed, you then have to go back, or you've not received a certificate number because you've claimed it. Then you've got to go back into another system to look at, say, exam search for secure exam results.
Yeah.
And find that one out. I say on other AOs that I worked on, we log in, we see our learners that are on the course, push a plus button up, and it just shows me all the learners' names, and then underneath that it shows me whether they passed or failed and what they have failed in, and actually the percentage. It's all in one place rather than physically having to go back, close the brief, go back to another one, do another one.
I can definitely feed it into the conversations and the requests that are ongoing.
That's fine. Thanks.
There's just one message in the chat I just want to touch on. I know we're very close to time with regards to submitting paper-based test papers via email or through a portal. With email, it's not classed as secure enough. So that's one of the reasons we were talking about secure file transfer, and again through a portal, because with any sort of portal access, there'll be multiple different people who will have access to that portal. I take your point with regards to sort of strikes and like Royal Mail only being able to deliver so many days a week. So I think that's something we need to take away and discuss with regulation colleagues, because it will have an impact. So once we get an answer, we will come back to you.
I'll bring that down. Yeah, and Mary, I can see your comment about the test form, and yeah, I take your point, especially with case protection where you've got 5 testers on there. It's a lot. Is that a new hand come up?
Yes, I'm just going to go ahead if you've seen
Yep.
the hand really. Okay. So initially when we were sending this security notification form notifying the person about 5 days, we were getting an email notification. That was a kind of a relaxation, thinking, okay, yeah, our form has been submitted. So a couple of times what has happened to us is now obviously you don't get that email notification, and you've been thinking there was a time where sometimes maybe PC turns off or something like that, and you're not getting any notification saying that, okay, have they received the form or they haven't received the form? I don't know why you guys stopped that email notification. So if you could start that again, that would be brilliant, so that we have a proof that yes, we have sent you that form. Okay.
I've seen your feedback on the questionnaire as well about that.
Okay,
or
brilliant.
if not you, somebody else has. I've got that down. And honestly, I don't know, but we can speak to the test notification team. I think it comes up as it's like a confirmation screen or something, isn't it?
It was
at the end, but yeah, an email.
It was the email was coming before, but then eventually it stopped, and
yeah.
I think it was good then when we get any email notification in future, we've got a proof that we did submit the form, just in case if you guys haven't received it or anything like that. And another thing that I was wanted to mention was there was a previous person who mentioned was about the electronic certificate. A lot of people, when they want to enroll for the course, they do say that a lot of other training providers are offering their certificate would be received within 5 working days. However, with Pearson, it's taking ages to get the certificate. So if you could look into electronic certificate and make this duration a bit shorter, that would be really brilliant. Because at the moment, it's a very long process with Pearson as compared to other awarding bodies. I do know someone who's working with Trident, and they are getting their certificate within 5 working days, as compared to Pearson, it sometimes takes 3-4 weeks as well. And one more thing I wanted to add was refits. So sometimes when people fail their test, they want to get the exam done as soon as possible. I do know there is obviously 5 days notification. Is there any way for the resits, there could be any exception being used or something where if somebody failed, because in door supervisor course, it's still okay. But when it comes to top up training, people's license are running out. And if they do fail, they have to wait for 2 weeks to get their results. Then it takes another 5 days for us to arrange their resets, another 2 weeks for them to get the results. It's too long process, and people are complaining about that. If they fail, they want to reset as soon as possible. So 5 days is quite long, I think. So if you guys could look into that, that would be brilliant as well.
Yeah, I'm just scribbling that down and trying not to lose my voice.
Okay, sorry, I'm just giving one after the other. So yeah, these are the three main important that I just wanted to give, really.
Yeah, no, and it's things like this that it's really useful, and that's why I wanted to do this, is to get the feedback on the things that are important to you and what are the blockers and the issues. And yeah, totally take on board with the license renewals that is an issue, and you don't want to be getting issues from us because you're trying to do the best thing for the learner. Yeah, so we can add that to our list, Andy.
Thank you.
Is there anything else? Has anybody got anything that either works well that you definitely don't want us to change, or any other things that are just you're doing it like weekly and it's just really annoying, just a little thing that we may not even have considered. If you go on and next time you do something you think, oh, this is one of those things that I should have mentioned, you just email it through to me, and I can add it through to our list. Ian.
Hi, Ria.
Hi.
Speaking as both a centre and an SV, it'd be really, really useful to be able to do visits again.
Yeah, and I think, Andy, we're reintroducing that, aren't we, from this year?
Yeah,
because I know we stopped, didn't we? But yeah, from this time now, we can actually say yes to that one for you, Ian. That's a good one. At least I can say yes straight away. That we will be. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Ria, I've got one more question.
Go on.
It's regarding CCTV on the Learning Names database for funded qualifications. It's not on there. It was there when it was a previous version, but since the new qualifications come out, it's not on there, and learners request it who undertake AAB funding.
Yeah, that's a really difficult. I don't have the answer that you want for this, I'm afraid. So it was there before. And what happens is both Ofqual in terms of qualification registrations and the funding agency in terms of people that access funding for it, they review it, and anything that has no take up, we get it withdrawn. And would you believe our previous version, we had no people take up the funding for it, and so it got culled with the new version. It was deemed that there wasn't a need for it. I don't know why none of ours were funded, but they had no. It came up as one. They call it low and no, and they removed the approval for it for that. Obviously, other AOs did have. They met the criteria, but for whatever reason, all of ours were privately funded. They didn't access the funding for it, and so it got culled under their low and no review. We have appealed it. But there's no movement basically at the moment, because I don't know if you know more broadly, there's a funding moratorium that they've got on for all new qualifications. So I do know about it, and it's something that both myself and Sian, our funding head of funding, is aware of, and when we can do something about it, we will. We have sent the appeals in already, but it's not got anywhere because the previous version it came under the call for low and no. But I do know about it, and I know you've raised it. So if and when we can get any movement on that, I will let you know.
All right, thanks, appreciate it.
don't think there's anything else. I can't see any other questions or hands up. So I will just end there, I guess, and say thank you for attending. I know it's been a little while since we've had one of these, and I know there's been a lot going on within security. So thank you all for coming. Again, just to play, if you can complete the questionnaire, either the one I've sent out or go through it with your LSV with those upcoming visits, just so we have the information, because that can all feed into us looking to make these system improvements. The bit that you've just said about the license renewals, it's really useful information to have, and we know we haven't updated stuff for a long time, so we've got to be due an update. So any feedback that you can send us so that we know we are doing things that are actually going to be useful to you, not just things that we think are useful and won't really help, it'd be really great. So yeah, if you could do that, and I will be sending out the slides, and I'll also put the slides and the recording up on the website if you've got colleagues that want to have a look through. Like I said, all the links are in there, so even if you save it just to favourite those links so you know where they are, hopefully that'll be useful to you. But yeah, thank you very much, and we'll speak to you soon, no doubt.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very, very much.
Thanks.